In this episode of the Courageous Public Health Podcast, Dr. Jovonni Spinner shares what it looks like to do it scared, betting on yourself, speaking honestly about equity, and leading with conviction even when the room gets uncomfortable. This is a conversation about courage as a practice, about pivoting without calling it failure, leaving the good government job to build Beacon Public Health, leading with clarity, compassion, and conviction, and protecting your peace with boundaries, rest, and a full body no. You're listening to the Courageous Public Health Podcast, episode 47. To all the courageous women leading in public health, this podcast is your space to turn up the volume on your courage. This space centers your voice. This space celebrates your passion. This space amplifies your courage. My role? To listen, to amplify, and to stand with you in the fight for equity. My name is Dr. Christy McClamrock. I am an epidemiologist, consultant, the founder and CEO of Courageous Public Health, and the host of the Courageous Public Health Podcast. Each week, I have real, unfiltered conversations with women in public health about the challenges you face, the power you hold, and your vision for the future. We talk about the authenticity, vulnerability, and courage that you bring, not just to public health, but to every part of your lives. Because courage is about action, even in fear. It's about taking up space, leading unapologetically, refusing to be erased, and knowing you never have to do it alone. If you're ready to turn up the volume on your courage, if you're ready to take up space, if you're ready to smash the racist, patriarchal, cisnormative, heteronormative, ableist, capitalistic systems, then listen to this new episode. Hello, and welcome to the Courageous Public Health Podcast. I'm Dr. Christy McClamrock. This podcast exists because courage is already everywhere in public health. It's just rarely named, supported, or treated as a leadership skill. Women are making high-stakes decisions inside complex systems every day, often without the infrastructure they need to do that work sustainably or visibly. Through Courageous Public Health, I work with organizations to strengthen leadership capacity by helping women move through pressure-driven or fear-based decisions toward action that's grounded in values, clarity, and integrity, even when the system itself hasn't caught up. Today's conversation, this is a good one. I'll share a bit about our guest, and then we will get started. Dr. Jovonni Spinner is an award-winning public health entrepreneur, author, TEDx speaker, and thought leader dedicated to advancing health equity through innovation, strategy, and social impact. Believing that health is a fundamental human right, she founded Beacon Public Health to help organizations design culturally responsive programs that strengthen systems and improve community well-being. Her entrepreneurial leadership, rooted in equity, collaboration, and purpose, bridges research, education, and practice to create sustainable, inclusive solutions that close health gaps and uplift historically marginalized communities by ensuring their voices shape the solutions through authentic engagement. Through impactful campaigns on maternal health and obesity, Beacon has become a trusted voice in public health, helping individuals and communities make informed, confident choices about their well-being. Dr. Spinner aims to expand Beacon's Public Health Impact Academy to support professionals to lead with purpose and reimagine health systems that honor culture, dignity, and justice for all. Ready to be inspired by some powerful courage? Let's go. Hi there, everybody. I'm so excited to introduce Dr. Jovonni Spinner today. How are you, Jovonni?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, it's so good to see you. We were just talking before we hit record about how we got to meet in person at APHA in Washington, D.C., which is really great because we've been communicating on LinkedIn for the past couple of years. So
Yes, APHA is like the mecca of public health and the ultimate like reunion of public health professionals. So I'm definitely glad we got to connect in person.
Absolutely. I know I was saying that it's, It's not like a high school reunion. It's better than a high school reunion.
Although I've never been to a high school reunion. So
okay.
Yes.
Well, maybe your high school reunions would be awesome. But it definitely feels like a reunion. So, okay. Well, I want to just jump right in. So I'm going to have you introduce yourself to our guests.
Sure. So hello, everyone. I am Dr. Jovonni Spinner. I am the CEO and founder of Beacon Public Health. We are a full service public health consultant firm focused on addressing health inequities. And we do our work through research, through professional development, through health education and communication. And we really focus on how do we address health inequities as they relate to chronic disease, prevention, treatment, and management, and also maternal health outcomes. So I'm really excited to be here on today's podcast. And in addition to that, I wear a couple of other hats as well. I also serve as a Maryland Healthcare Commissioner. And so that's a very exciting role that I wear as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. How long have you been doing that?
Which part? Beacon or commissioner?
Commissioner. I should say both.
I'm definitely over a year into my term. It is an appointed position by the governor of Maryland. That's
so cool. Congratulations. That's very cool.
Thank you.
Beacon Public Health is also very cool. Yeah. but the health commissioner is like extra cool. Yeah. So I want to talk with you about courage because you were telling me that your personal motto is related. So
yes.
we'll get into that. So I'll remind our listeners about the difference between bravery and courage. So bravery is taking action without fear, while courage is taking action despite fear. So I would love for you to share some experiences with us about about how you've used courage in your personal and professional life. And maybe you can start by telling us what your motto is.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm really glad you asked this question because over the last couple of years, I've actually been working really hard at being more courageous. And I have adopted this motto of do it scared. Right. Yes. So knowing that as a human, as a Black woman, all the things, I am very fearful of a lot of things, fearful of not getting the desired outcome, letting other people down, including myself, not living up to my potential. So there are all these things that are very fearful about doing either personal or professional things. But what I've come to realize is that you literally just have to do it scared. And you have to, for me personally, let pivoting and shifting be a part of my norm instead of the exception. Instead of saying, oh, because I pivoted, I failed. No, pivoting and shifting means that I am a courageous leader because I have that self-awareness and that ability to reflect on what's going on around me and being able to make decisions in real time and recognizing that, I don't have to stay on the same path if it's not serving me anymore.
Yeah.
But that's not the same thing as saying, oh, I'm going to give up easily and I don't want to do hard work. But it is having that self-awareness and that wherewithal to know when it's time to move on to the next thing, move on to the next decision tree or, idea or, different strategy for whatever project you may be working on. And I realized by doing things scared that ultimately, most of the time, things actually work out. Like we carry around so much worry and anxiety about things not working out. And a lot of times it's unfounded in reality and things really do work out. And I'm never going to know what the outcome is if I don't try. I'm never going to know what my opportunity for growth is if I don't try. I can't scale up a business if I don't try. Right. So you have to rip that Band-Aid off and start somewhere, whether you are scared or not. Mm-hmm. Even if that means getting up on the stage and your heart is palpitating and you have sweaty palms and, you have an upset stomach, keep doing the thing and keep pushing through and you'll get better at it each and every time. But I ultimately find that in the end, I usually feel good about it. There's always a lesson learned. And most importantly, I'm moving out of my comfort zone and into my growth zone.
Yes.
So that's why I have been embracing this. It is a practice. I have not perfected it. Don't get me wrong. But recognizing that I can do things scared and things do work out in my favor.
I love that so much. I think we all carry around these stories, right? And these almost beliefs that we've adopted that are often in the least empowering context. And it's like, what if you don't listen to the story in your head that says, oh my gosh, if I get up on the stage in front of all these people, I'm going to die. You're not going to die. That's a story you have in your head. That's not real. That's not a thing. You can choose to believe something else. You can choose to believe that pounding heart and that, feeling in your gut is excitement instead of fear.
Yeah.
So,
for sure.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Do you have any specific examples that you want to share?
Oh my gosh, there are so many.
I know. I knew the answer to that question before I asked it.
Yeah. So, one of the immediate things that come to mind, as you heard in my introduction, I'm the CEO and founder of Beacon Public Health, and that is a independent Black-owned, woman-owned consulting firm. That is scary. Stepping out on faith and starting your own company, entering into an entrepreneurship journey, that's very scared. That's very scary because, I'm one of those people who gave up their good government job. People who live in the DMV area know that once you secure your quote unquote good government job, you don't leave. You stay there until retirement because it is very competitive and it's very hard to get one of these highly coveted federal positions. Yeah. I'm one of those people who gave that up to bet on myself, to start my own company, to be able to work on the projects and work with the organizations and people and work with the communities that I felt I could have the greatest impact, that most aligned with what my personal vision of health equity should be. And that meant trusting my vision, even though my path was not fully mapped. Yeah. I sat on this idea for a couple of years and it got to the point where I needed to stop ruminating on the idea and start the company to see how it could grow, to figure out where do I actually want to niche down into, right? But I can't do that if I'm constantly thinking, planning. Like I didn't need any more plans, okay? Right. Didn't need another business plan. I didn't need another, idea. I just needed to start. So that's one example of, being courageous in that space and betting on myself. Another thing that has been something that takes a lot of courage, particularly in this field, is speaking honestly about health equity, calling out structural racism and power, particularly in rooms where those conversations could be uncomfortable, right? Particularly when you are talking to people who have the privilege and the power and, historically have been a part of the problem and not the solution. So you kind of get quietly discouraged from talking about these things. But I feel that, this is one of the reasons why I was put on this earth is because addressing health equity is so important. Making sure that people have the tools, the resources, and have access to what they need in order to be healthy is critically important. And health to me is a fundamental human right. Everybody deserves it. It does not matter where you come from, the color of your skin, your gender, whatever the case may be, right? Yeah. So when you start to say those things and when you start to talk about, those structural issues, people get a little uneasy, right? They get a little, shifty in their seat and like, well, why do we have to talk about that? I'm like, because in order for us to create solutions that have impact, we have to know the history. We have to know where we came from. We have to have an understanding of the problems. And so being able to speak honestly about those issues is been a point of courage for me. Another thing recently in the last couple of years is I worked on a book project where I was the co-author of a book about public health entrepreneurship. So taking that same thing that was very scary, starting my own company, and then writing about it publicly was like, oh my gosh, am I doing this? Am I, sharing my thoughts, my insights, and my perspectives with the broader world? So that was very scary in that moment. It's like, how much do you share? How much don't you share? Like, all of that I had to personally think about. And to my earlier point about things working out, it worked out because now people in public health have a tool, they have a resource so they can understand different types of career journeys, right? If you're interested in entrepreneurship, if you're interested in even freelancing or being a business owner, et cetera, now you have a real world, firsthand account about what it took. What did my journey look like? And what can you glean from that and apply it to your own journey? So I was really proud of being a part of that project as well.
That's vulnerability, right? Like that really.
Yes. When you start talking about yourself, that puts you in a very vulnerable position. You and I were talking previously about, I'm well versed in the science and, in the theories and the practicality of public health and all those things, but when it comes to talking about myself, that's a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
Because now I'm talking about my personal feelings, my personal thoughts. It's not the science. It's not the facts. It's not the data. It's about me. And that is very vulnerable because anytime you share about yourself, you're opening up the door for scrutiny, right? Not everything is going to be well received. Not everything is going to be roses, right? But that comes with the territory. And I think for me, the benefit of helping someone outweighs the possibility of someone having a negative reaction to what I'm doing. And if that's the case, I'm not for them. And that's fine.
That's
right. I'm not for everybody.
They're not your person.
Yeah, that vulnerability piece is definitely something I have been, trying to dig deeper in and build up that muscle a little bit more for sure. And not just professionally, but also like personally, like even thinking about like my personal life, letting go of this idea of pleasing other people that was once a big part of my identity, letting go of that piece of me and really shifting the focus into, well, who am I as a person? What do I want? What do I value? And what do I want my life to look like? Not what does society say I should have done by this age, right? This quote unquote American dream. You should have been married, have kids, have this type of career, this much in your retirement, X, Y, and Z. But what do I want?
What do you want
out of this? Right. Yeah. And so that's been something that I've been really like honing into these last couple of years. And it really aligns with like, starting a business because you have to be very intentional about how you're moving in the world, right? What type of decisions are you making? What is going to be the impact of those decisions? So making sure I have a clear sense of like who I am and what I want and letting go of those pieces of me that are not serving this phase of my life, right? Making sure that I'm choosing rest. Rest is not the reward anymore. Rest is now a part of my regular day-to-day activities, right? Like I don't have to work 50 hours a week to earn a day of rest, right? It has to be a part of, my natural way of being. Setting boundaries, saying no and letting no be the complete sentence and not having to come up with a rationale and a justification on why I can't do the thing for the person and feeling guilty about not being able to meet that person's need or expectation and being okay with that. Because at the end of the day, I'm one person, I only have, a set amount of time every day. We all get the same 24 hours. And it's up to me to decide how I'm spending that time. And so I want to make sure that I am protecting my peace and making sure that by doing that, I'm better equipped to show up as my best self in the spaces and places that I want to be. So being able to protect my peace without apologizing for it is definitely a courageous act, particularly as a Black woman.
You know, I'm just thinking while you're talking that a lot of what you're saying is that you're pushing back against the messages that women, and certainly Black women, have been getting forever, forever, right? And it's like, well, again, back to the idea of, beliefs or stories. It's like, I actually don't have to internalize that. This idea that rest is reward. Like, I can choose to believe something different. The idea that I'm supposed to stay quiet and not speak out or say no. It's like, I choose not to believe that anymore. I'm not going to believe that anymore. That was somebody else's belief that, I was socialized into, and we really get to choose. So these are all such great examples. And, the idea that you're being very intentional now about how you choose to live your life and where you want that to go, based on where you want that to go.
Yep. I'm a strong believer of, if you invited me to the meeting, to the conversation, then I'm going to speak up, right? Gone are the days of, you take the seat in the back, you keep your head down, you just take notes, whatever the case may be, because of this, proposed hierarchy that's in the workplace and, things of that, like that of that matter, and these power dynamics, which are antiquated and outdated. But no, if I'm showing up, then I'm showing up as my full authentic self. And that's what I'm going to be serving that day. Yes.
Snaps for that. That's like so, it's so good. It's so true. It's so true. And it's so powerful. It's such a powerful thing when people are able to do that and bring their full authentic selves. I mean, that's whoever invited you to that meeting, they might not have known that was your full authentic self, but it's like, you invited me, I'm bringing it all.
Yep. They're going to know now.
You're going to know now. Exactly. You didn't know before. You're going to know now. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, you've certainly mentioned this a little bit, but maybe we can take a few minutes to talk about, claiming and expressing your power in these types of spaces that don't always welcome it. And I'm just wondering if you have some thoughts about how you express and embody that courage in those moments. How does that look for you? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So I'll start off with 3 C's to go along with our courage theme for today. So being able to lead with clarity. So do I understand what's going on? Do I understand what my value is? Do I understand what I want to get out of this, particular situation, right? Just having that clear view of what needs to be done and how am I going to do it? Having compassion. I think a lot of times we are missing out on compassion and empathy in our workplaces, in our community, and elsewhere, right? We have to humanize the work again. We have to realize that the work that we are doing is impacting actual real life people who have real life stuff going on, right? So bringing that compassion into the situation. And then having the conviction, right? So we just talked about not diluting messages and showing up as my authentic self and being comfortable enough to say the things that need to be said, even if I know people may not be ready to hear them or don't want to hear them at all, right?
Yeah.
So that's one way that I could lean into my personal power. showing up as my full self. So I'm multifaceted, right? There are certain parts of my identity that I can't hide, right? I cannot hide the fact that I am a Black woman, right? And I'm proud of that. I wouldn't even try to hide it, even if I could.
Yeah.
But having the other parts of my identity, me being a scholar, me being an entrepreneur, me being a visionary leader in the public health space, showing up as with all of those pieces and not having to fragment my identity or compartmentalize pieces of me to, only show what I think may fit into that particular, scenario or situation, for example. And really expressing power in a way that, lived experience, community wisdom, personal insights are seen and valued as expertise, not as afterthoughts, right? When we talk about bringing our whole self, my whole self is not just my professional side. It's not just my degrees and certifications. It's not just my, skills and work experience and the projects I worked on. But me also living as a Black woman in my community is also a huge part of me that also brings some value to the conversation when we're talking about, in my particular case, addressing health equity, right?
Yeah.
And so those are like some of the pieces that when I'm trying to figure out how to express my power in a way that is meaningful and authentic to me and that stays true to myself, right? Those are the things that I constantly think about in terms of like, how am I presenting myself to the world and how is my power being expressed in different spaces, right? So there's always opportunity to adjust, but I'm not turning it off. So I have to, keep that piece in mind.
Yeah, there's your shift again, right? Your pivot. It's like,
yep.
Yeah, we adjust, but we don't stop. We don't turn it off.
Correct.
Yeah. I love that. And you've also used this word a couple times, the word vision, but I really would love to hear from you about your vision for public health, your vision for health equity. That's a big one. Your vision for health equity, and also your personal vision for your own future.
Yeah, that's a lot of visions.
That's a lot of vision.
In terms of the future of public health, I really envision a field that values community-led solutions and not top-down interventions. One of the things that I pride myself on is if I'm working on a project, whether it's a research project, whether it's a health education campaign, doesn't matter what it is. My goal is to make sure I am centering the voices of whoever is being served by that project, right?
Yeah.
The one thing that bothers me is when I hear people saying, oh, like for example, working on diabetes or something like that. Oh, I couldn't find any Black people to be a part of my research study. I couldn't find any Black people to come to, this program that I've designed. And I'm like, what? What do you mean? Did you look? Did you try? How did you try it? Right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, I really want us to get to a space and place where we are including the community members as a part of the process as a non-negotiable, right? They are the experts of what's going on, not us who are sitting behind the desk reading journal articles, right?
Yeah.
So I definitely want to see that to change. I definitely want to get to the point where public health and beyond, for sure, and I'll put emphasis on beyond, treats equity as a core fundamental function. Equity is not something that's in the corner and we pull it out when we need that gold check mark or we need to have the verbiage for our grants, right?
Yeah.
It's not an initiative. It's not a buzzword. It is a fundamental principle of how we should go about doing all of our work. So I want that to be the norm and not the exception. Like, we shouldn't be in spaces where we're still having to define what health equity is for the audience that's in front of us, right? I want us to get past that.
Yeah.
I want us to get to the place where we have systems that invest in prevention. Like, we live in a society where it's all about disease treatment. And that's by design, right? Because that's what fuels capitalism, right?
Yeah.
If you don't have a disease, then you don't have anything to treat. And I can't,
make money off of you.
Off it, right?
Yeah. Can't profit off of you. Yes.
But if we focus on prevention, then we can focus on wellness. We can focus on quality of life. So it's not just about living longer, but how is the life that you are living? Is it a full life? Right? Are you doing the things that you enjoy? Not just going to work and paying bills, right? But actually enjoying life in your way, right? Having systems that focus on mental health, right? Mental health is just as important as our physical health. And it's not one without the other, right? Yeah. They are the same. They need to be, invested in at the same level. And we really need to have, we really need to get to a future where our social conditions are conducive for health, where health is the easy choice, right? Yeah. So talking about access, which is a big part of equity, people make decisions about what they have access to, right? I'm only going to go to the grocery store that I have easy access to. And if that grocery store has bad produce or, lack of variety of different foods or whatever the case may be, then that's what I have access to.
Right.
So it's real easy to say, oh, you should eat healthy. Well, how am I supposed to eat healthy if my closest grocery store is miles away and 2 bus rides away? And now I got to carry all these groceries back home. Right.
Yeah.
So how are we going to say, oh, go get all of your screenings, but you have a job that doesn't allow you to take time off, right? So we have to make sure that our social conditions are conducive to our health and well-being, and that equity is embedded in all of those solutions. And to top it off, making sure we have a diverse workforce, right?
Yep.
A workforce that is supported, that is fairly compensated. A lot of times I think of public health as kind of a little stealthy, like people don't really understand what it is. What do we do? What's our value? Yeah. And when people don't understand what you do, they don't want to compensate you for stuff. If you're trying to do a community-based program, they expect everyone to be a volunteer for free. Why is that the case? Right? Why are we asking people to give their time to do your work? That's not fair at all. And we also need to have a workforce that is emotionally well. We are doing some very hard, taxing work. Yeah. And so we have to have supports in place, which is why when we were talking earlier about rest, and rest no longer being the reward, but being a part of my baseline, being a part of, my regular activity, that's because in order for me to show up and continue doing this work, doing health equity work, I have to be emotionally well. So I know my colleagues in public health need to be emotionally well, need to be fairly compensated, need to be supported. And so we really need that for the future of public health, for sure.
I almost want to piggyback onto your vision for public health, which is, because I totally agree with everything that you said. I also want to change the social conditions so that people actually are able to be their full authentic selves.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Just sort of related to what we were talking about before. Yeah.
No, I wholeheartedly agree with that. Because, at the end of the day, or at the beginning of the day, we're not a monolith. We are all different people. Even if you think about the Black community, right? we're all different people. It's all different types of blackness, right? And we shouldn't all be expected to move and think and operate in the same way. So to your point about everyone being able to show up as their authentic self, that is a key part of your wellness, because when you have to start to push down parts of you to quote unquote fit in with whatever environment you in, that's a huge emotional toll. Absolutely. That is very taxing.
Yeah.
If you have to code switch, very taxing, right? So I totally agree with you that we need to have environments where we can all show up as our authentic self.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, Jovonni, so now I want to hear about your personal vision.
Oh, let's see.
What is it in your future?
Oh, my future is so bright. It's so big.
Yes.
You have to speak life into yourself. When you were talking earlier about, choosing to believe certain things, for me, it's like, for every negative thought you have, you should be able to come up with at least 10 positive thoughts to counteract that negative thought, right? Because your brain is only going to remember what you keep telling it. So if you keep putting negative stuff in your head, then negative stuff is going to happen, right? So you got to speak positivity in life into yourself. So I think I have a very bright future. But in terms of like what I want my personal vision to be, I definitely want to continue to scale up Beacon Public Health. All right. I want to continue to have a positive impact on serving our communities, and that ultimately leading to reducing health disparities, ultimately addressing health inequities, and making sure that our communities are thriving and we are moving past just being in a survival mode, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what I want for my company. That is the legacy I want to leave. And so that's what I'm striving for and working towards right now. So with that, if anyone wants to work with me on achieving that vision, please reach out. I want to also continue building platforms that we've already started on. So last year we launched the Public Health Impact Academy. And this academy provides professional development training for public health professionals and our allies around the core public health competencies, right? But focus in on an equity lens. So when we were talking earlier about like people say, oh, they can't find Black people to be a part of their research study, for example. So we have a course on like community engagement, right? Yeah. How do you do that from a meaningful place that you're actually building transformational partnerships and not just being transactional, right? So we're focused on those public health core competencies from an equity lens, and also focus on how do you turn the theory into practice. So when you leave one of our courses, there is something you can implement that day that will benefit your work, whether you are junior to the field or whether you are a seasoned vet like myself. Because I really want to, going back to my vision of what I want public health to look like in terms of the diversity of public health, I also want a field of public health practitioners that are really prepared for what this next generation of life is going to look like and how we can lead differently, right? And so the Public Health Impact Academy is one tool in which we can achieve that particular vision. And ultimately, I really want to live a life of joy. I want a life that integrates my purpose, my joy, my rest, and my abundance. I have been very fortunate throughout my entire public health career that the positions that I've held have always aligned with my personal mission of what I wanted health and equity to look like. And now being able to take that into my own company is something that I'm really excited for. I'm really excited to scale up, put in the work, and really invest in this vision that I have for myself. And then ultimately to be remembered for not just what I've built through Beacon Public Health and some of the other hats that I wear, but how did I make people feel seen? How did I help make them feel capable in making decisions about their health? And how do I make sure that their voices were heard and integrated into the work? So that is really what my personal vision for myself looks like right now.
It's a beautiful vision. It's a beautiful vision. And you're obviously being very intentional and moving in that direction. So I want to make sure that our guests know how to connect with you. So what is the best way to do that and learn more about the things that you're involved in?
Sure. You can connect with me in a couple of different ways. One, you can connect with my company, Beacon Public Health. We are Beacon Public Health on all socials, so Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook.
Perfect.
Our email address to reach us directly is info@beaconpublichealth.com. Okay. You can visit our website to check out some of our educational resources and articles and the training that I talked about, the Public Health Impact Academy, and that is beaconpublichealth.com. If you want to reach out to me personally, I am Dr. Jovonni Spinner across all platforms as well. Great. And I also monitor the info inbox at Beacon, so
okay.
I'll eventually see it.
You'll see it. That's great. That's great. Sure. So we'll put all of those in the show notes, so it's really easy for people to just click a link and get in touch. Well, thank you again for being here, and it's really great to talk to you. And let's move towards our visions.
Yes. Yeah, thank you so much for having me today. And I am very appreciative that you have created this platform for public health professionals to really talk about how do we step out of our comfort zone and be courageous? How do we lead? How do we position our power in order to help and support others, which really is what public health is about, right? We all go into public health because we want to help and to serve our community. So definitely grateful to have the different voices on your podcast to help share their stories as well. And for encouraging us to take up space and to be able to be vulnerable. You have made that very easy. So I appreciate that.
Oh, that means a lot. Thank you so much. Sometimes courage is leaving the good job and betting on yourself before the full path is mapped. Sometimes courage is pivoting and refusing to call that pivot failure. Sometimes courage is protecting your peace, letting rest be the baseline, letting no be a complete sentence, and showing up fully when you've been invited to the table. Dr. Jovonni Spinner reminds us that vision isn't passive, it's built with clarity, with compassion, with conviction, and often while your hands are shaking. If this conversation made you think about your own leadership or the women leading inside your organization, this is exactly the work we do through Courageous Public Health. We partner with organizations to offer facilitated, interactive virtual workshops for women leaders in public health, turning courage into a leadership skill so it becomes an organizational strength. Interested? Reach out. Links to connect with us are in the show notes. Until our next episode, stay courageous. Thank you for listening to the Courageous Public Health Podcast. Visit courageouspublichealth.com to find the show notes for each episode and learn how to connect with us.